My name is Daniel. I'm 31, and last spring, I moved to a quiet coastal town called Gray Haven, Oregon, after the tech startup I worked for collapsed overnight. One day I had a decent salary designing app interfaces in Portland. The next I had a severance email and a cardboard box with my desk plant in it. Gray Haven wasn't supposed to be permanent, just a place to breathe. My aunt had left me her old house when she passed, small weathered cedar siding perched on a bluff above the Pacific. The kind of place where fog rolls in every evening, and the only traffic sound is the occasional fishing truck heading toward the docks. The town had one grocery store, one gas station, and a post office so small the clerk doubled as the mayor's cousin, and one camera shop. I noticed it the second day I arrived. Harbor Light Photo sat between a boarded-up bakery and a thrift store, its display window filled with old film cameras and faded photographs of Gray Haven from decades ago. Storm waves crashing against the lighthouse, fishermen posing with impossibly large halibut, kids jumping off the old pier. I'd always liked photography as a hobby, so I went in. A bell chimed when the door opened. Behind the counter stood a tall man in his late 50s with narrow shoulders and a perfectly trimmed gray beard. He looked up from a camera he was cleaning and smiled like he'd been expecting me. "Daniel," he said warmly. I froze. I hadn't introduced myself yet. "Oh," he added casually, tapping the counter. "You must be the nephew who inherited Margaret Hale's house up on Driftwood Bluff. Whole town heard about it." That made sense, I guess. Small towns talk. His name was Leonard Price, the shop owner. He developed film, repaired cameras, and sold old equipment. I ended up buying a used Canon film camera and 2 rolls of Kodak Portra. "Come back in a few days," Leonard said. "I'll develop them myself." I spent that weekend exploring Gray Haven. The coastline was incredible. Jagged cliffs, driftwood beaches, and a lighthouse that looked like it belonged on a postcard. I shot both rolls of film in 2 days. When I returned to Harbor Light Photo, Leonard handed me a neat stack of glossy prints. "They turned out beautifully," he said. They had. But when I got home and looked through them again, something felt wrong. In almost every photo, somewhere in the background, was the same figure. A man, far away, out of focus, always partially turned away from the camera. Standing near the lighthouse railing, walking along the edge of the cliffs, watching from the far end of the beach. At first I thought I'd just accidentally photographed a random tourist multiple times, but the more I looked, the stranger it got. The man wore the same dark coat in every picture, and in the last photo, the final shot I took just before sunset, he was standing closer, close enough that I could see the side of his face. It looked exactly like Leonard. The next morning I went back to the shop. Leonard smiled when he saw me. "Back already?" I spread the photos across the counter. "Do you know this guy?" I asked. He leaned forward, studying them carefully. He murmured. "Funny coincidence." "That's you," I said. He chuckled softly. "Daniel, I was here all weekend, running the shop." He slid the photos back toward me. Photography plays tricks sometimes, shadows, double exposures. But I knew what I'd seen. I tried to forget about it. Gray Haven had that slow rhythm that eventually quiets your brain. I spent the next week fixing up the house and taking more photos. This time I used my phone. No strange figures. No Leonard. A few days later I finished another roll of film and reluctantly took it back to Harbor Light. Leonard greeted me like an old friend. "Let's see what you captured this time." When I returned 2 days later, he handed me the prints in a thick envelope. Something was wrong immediately. The photos weren't mine. They were pictures inside my house. My kitchen table, my living room, my bedroom hallway. Every shot taken at night, and in several of them, I was visible, sleeping on the couch, sitting at my laptop, brushing my teeth in the bathroom mirror, all photographed through the windows. I looked up slowly. Leonard watched my reaction with mild curiosity. "That's not funny," I said. His eyebrows lifted. "What isn't?" "These pictures?" He leaned over the counter again, inspecting them like it was the first time he'd seen them. "Oh dear," he said calmly. "Must have been a mix-up in development." "A mix-up?" I snapped. "Someone took photos inside my house." "Then you should call the police." His tone was so normal, it made my skin crawl. I installed security cameras that night. 2 outside the house, 1 facing the driveway. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Then Friday night at 1:42 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the live feed. A man stood at the edge of the driveway. Tall, thin, gray beard. Leonard. He wasn't moving, just standing there in the dark, looking directly at the camera. After almost 2 minutes, he turned and walked away into the fog. The police took it seriously once they saw the footage. Officer Jensen recognized Leonard immediately. "Harbor Light guy," he said. "He's lived here forever." They went to question him the next morning. Leonard denied everything. Said he'd been home all night, but Jensen wasn't convinced, so they got a warrant. They searched Harbor Light Photo that afternoon. What they found was worse than anyone expected. Behind a locked door in the back of the shop was Leonard's archive room. Hundreds of filing cabinets, each drawer labeled with a name, each name belonging to someone in Greyhaven. Inside every folder were photographs, thousands of them. People grocery shopping, walking dogs, sitting in their living rooms, all taken from a distance with long-range lenses. Leonard had been documenting the town for 32 years. But the worst part wasn't the photos. It was the timelines. Charts pinned to the walls, handwritten notes tracking where people went, who they spoke to, when they left town, when they moved away. My folder already had 3 pages. At the top, Leonard had written, "Subject Daniel Hale, new arrival." Below it, more observation phase. Leonard was arrested that evening. The police later said they believed he started with photography as a hobby, then slowly began cataloging the lives of the entire town. He claimed it wasn't stalking. It was preservation. "People forget their own lives," he told detectives calmly. "I keep the record." Harbor Light Photo closed the next week. The police returned my photos. I moved out of my aunt's house a month later and went back to Portland. But sometimes, I still look at that first roll of film, the one from the lighthouse, and there's something the police couldn't explain. In the earliest photos, Leonard is already there, standing in the background, watching, which would be impossible, because I bought that camera from him before I ever took those pictures. And the film inside it was already half used.